Hello everyone, welcome to the next session of SAP Basis Training. In this section, we will learn how to identify client roles in the system. In this lesson, we will also learn about the concept and change management within SAP environment. As an SAP system administrator or a project team member, you must monitor the software configuration and the program code changes to protect your productive system for incorrect configuration setting or program bug. So as we discussed before, the data in SAP system can be divided into two different categories. One is client specific data and cross client data. Meaning the client specific data or the application, or it can be also customizing, and it can be also user master data which is affecting only the particular client. And the cross client data, the cross client customizing data, and all the repository object which affects the entire system. So in general, what we have seen, all the ABAP dictionary, all the ABAP object are part of repository object. So any application data, the application data means it can be an order or an invoice of a specific company. This can be an application data which is different from one client to another client. It's a client independent data, and the customizing related to the application data, that is client specific customizing. Either it can be a company code or it can be a planned storage location and stuff like this is called client specific data. And the user data, user names, meaning user IDs and authorization. We also seen in our previous example, when we log in, when we create one user in one specific client, we cannot use the same user and password in a different client of our SAP system. That means the user which we are going to create, a user which we are creating in a specific client, is specific to one client. So the application data, customized client specific data, and the user data is client specific information. It differs from one client to another client. However, cross client customizing are affecting the entire client. The example what we have seen is this ALE configuration. When we are creating the logical system, then we had the information that is affecting the different client, because this is a cross client customizing informations. So it will affect the entire client, even though it's a customizing change, but it affects all the clients in the entire system. Then we come to the repository objects. Repository objects, what we have seen, it can be a table definition, or it can be a program, it can be transaction code, or it can be a function module. All these are all called cross repository object. In general, all above dictionary object or cross client objects or repository objects. The repository objects varies from each module have its own repository objects, as well as technology, means all the basis related stuff. Also we have repository objects like different programs in the basis for database backup and different things which you have seen. These are all again programs like RFC creation. These are all related to basis, which is related to technology. Also have repository objects, that means have its own tables and programs. As well as we have customer development in the customer namespace. Let's say if the customer develops their own programs or customer develops their own tables, then that also in the repository objects. So now we know what is client independent data and client dependent data. So in an SAP client, the data from different client is kept separately at the kernel level. The OpenSQL statement executed by SAP application uses the client number wherever it applicable. Although the table may contain the data in several different clients where it has limited access to the particular client. If we go to our SAP system, let's say we have a table which saves the user IDs. The table name is USR02. So I will go to SC16 and go to USR02 and execute. Here you can see the client name, client number. The client is 001. You have different users. Okay. So this particular client, when you log into this particular client, you can see only these users. Okay. So it is restricted based on the client. So in the kernel level, we have a restriction. If you log into a specific client, then you can see only the client specific data. Like what we see in right now is the user based data, as well as some user group. These are all client specific data, and customizing data such as organization unit, assignments and document types, application data, which can be a transactional data or can be a material master. These are all client specific data. So let's say if I log into the different client, log into the different client, I will log into 000. Here we do not have SAP basis right now. Let's log in with this one. See, we cannot use the same user ID and password to log in here because it's a client specific information. So I log in with the standard user SAP star. Okay, right now I'm in client 000. If I go to SC16, go to USR02. So you can see here you have very limited number of users only for this client 000. Okay, you cannot see all the client information. So this restrictions, right now we have logged into 000, you can see only the users related to client. So you use the same table with the cross client table. Even we use cross client table, we have a field which is called client, which restrict your access in the kernel level. Okay, now let's close this one. Let's go back to this one. Now you may think, then how do we restrict different company codes? You will have more than one company code in one specific client. It is possible that you can have multiple company codes in one specific client. Then how are we going to make sure the user from one company code is not viewing the data from other company code? This is done by authorization concept. In SAP authorization concept, in the specific client, you can restrict, you can define organization units which can provide authorization only to the specific organization units. So in the authorization concept is designed such a way that you can design or you can have a hierarchy in the authorization concept, so that if you are in a higher level of hierarchy, then you can access the hierarchy down. So you can design it such a way then the hierarchy as well as company wise authorization restriction, authorization components can be, authorization requirement can be implemented in a very restrictive way. So let us have a look into client rules. So we use the clients, or we use the SAP system for three different purposes: customizing, for quality assurance, for testing, as well as for production. In customizing, what we do is we will do the configuration of new functionality and the quality assurance system or quality assurance client. We will do the testing, and the production client is the actual production of the actual productive data of your organization. The standard client tools fulfill the optimal minimum requirement for SAP system. For example, client customizing is a client which is used for development and customizing. So in the client customizing, we will do all development and the customizing activity which is required for your organization or for your customer, or let's say for the landscape. So this client customizing can be recorded or can be created as a transport request, what we have seen it before, and then you can using the transport management system, TMS system, this can be transported easily. Okay, that is client, that is development and customizing clients. Again, this is based on your client setting. Then we will come to quality assurance client. The quality assurance client is used for testing the new customizing setting or new developments in your SAP system. Then we will come to the production client. In production client, which has the actual data of your organization, where you will carry out all the critical operations of your business day-to-day activity. So what we have to make sure, all the developments what you have done, all the customizing what you have done is being tested in the quality assurance system or quality assurance client. Then it should be transported to productive system in order to minimize any negative impact in your productive data. So in the tree system landscape, you can have different clients, and it is recommended, as we seen it before, it is recommended by SAP that we have 3 different systems along with these 3 different clients in order to make sure all the repository changes which you are doing, it does not affect any of your productive data or productive business processes. We may have some more clients in our SAP landscape for different purposes. These clients are listed down here. First one is sandbox client. The sandbox client, what we will do is it's used for customizing activity. Generally what we do, we will create the sandbox client in the development system. It's a separate client where you can do customizing without creating a TR. Let's say sandbox means, let's say your customer wants to have some solutions, some testing of your solution. However, you are not sure that the solution can be provided. In that cases, if you want to simulate your customizing, then we can use the sandbox client to do this customizing. In general, what we do is this sandbox client will also have some sample data. We can use it for our customizing purpose and testing it. So that sandbox client can be changed. The concept is that sandbox client can be changed or can be create, or some customizing can be changed without any requirement, let's say, or before even you start configuring the actual configuration. Then we have test client, where you will do the testing of your customizing. Once you finish your customizing and you do not give it to QA, because QA, the user will test or the business will test. However, you want to test before you release to QA, then you can use the test client. It's something called unit test. It's an internal test. You did the customizing in the development client. You may not have the sample data or the actual you may not have the sample data in order to test it. So you can have a different client. You generally will have a different client which is called test client. Then you can copy or you can import the transport of your, you can import the changes what you have done in your development system to the test client, then you can test your scenario as a unit test before you are importing the changes to quality system. That's a test client. Then we have training client, end user training client. This is for uh, this is for training the end users, meaning to say in the training client you can carry out some of the trainings which is necessary for the business or for the user or a super users to make sure they are aware of the entire business process. So this is a training client which will also use it in our SAP system. The training client can be a separate client in the QA system, or it can be also a separate system. It is also possible that you will have the sandbox also as a system. In case of, let's say, you want to develop some programs and test the solution before you start developing the actual program, same like what you do in customizing. If you want to do it like that, you cannot do it in the development system, because if you do it in a development system, one specific client, which is a sandbox client, to create some program, that it is going to affect the entire system. So in the actual development clients also, your objects related to above objects going to be changed. So it's not a good idea to do the testing of the repository object in the development client or in the sandbox client. In that cases, we will do what you can do is we can create a separate sandbox system itself, where you want to test some programs before you put in the development system. The reason could be the system is quite big and you have more than hundreds of developers in the system. Then you cannot afford to have any changes in the development system which may impact other developments. In that cases, we can separate the sandbox to a different system so that it's not affecting your developments. Same like that, if you want to have a training client, the client can be a client in the QA system, as well as the training system can be created separately, so that the changes which you are importing to QA system is not affecting the training system. So that is two different way you can look into it. Again, it depends on your business scenario. You have to make a decision which will be the best way for you, which will be the best way which is applicable for the business which presently you are handling. Okay, with this we are coming to the end of the session. Thank you very much for listening. I will see you in the next session. Bye bye.